Yes, the all black Genesis one piece was my signature bat when I first came back. Bat was just flat amazing. Up until present, the bats have just been top notch. They've been just at the top of the game. We brought back that one piece Genesis and it was like a light switch went off night and day. It was such an amazing bat. Everybody jumped back on to Louisville Slugger knowing that the product they were getting were just going to be amazing, and that was the start of what we have now, which is just unreal bats.
All right, we are live on the Hit and Sit Show number 41, Smoky Mountain Classic Edition. My guests today on the panel are Bradley Jones, outfielder for Resmondo. What are you swinging these days, Bradley? I didn't put it in there.
This year I'm swinging the one-piece Resmondo. I'm technically under contract with Miken, but obviously with it all being on the same umbrella, we can swing whatever. So I made a switch to the one piece this year, and Miken up before Everett's bat just come out. They didn't have a one piece, so I'm swinging an Easton.
Yeah, so you're swinging the Easton so far. MVP of the Smoky this past weekend, 917 on base percentage, 20 home runs, 39 runs batted in. Of course, Resmondo won the Smoky Mountain Classic. My other panelist is Justin Mucciareli, pitcher for RoofX, swings and markets the pure bats. He was 6 for 8 this weekend, 750. I think he started like 3 or 4 games, Justin. So what I'm going to do here before we get into the question and answer and interviews and stuff, I'm going to ask Bernie to share my screen and just do a quick rundown. Of course, the Hit and Sit show. And then the women played in Dalton, Georgia. Very hot, humid tournament. It was won by La Familia, who takes over the points lead for the season. La Familia was first, Derby Girls second. Team 24 was third, Lady SNI fourth. So all the major teams pretty much 1 through 4. We go over to the Smoky. Spoiler alert, if you're watching the condensed games, you might want to not watch this video. Resmondo won Juneau Athletics, an impressive run to second, their best run of the year. RoofX third, Sunny's fourth. So all 4 major teams finishing 1 through 4. Bradley Jones MVP, Joseph Bennett offensive MVP, and Corey Briggs, who played middle infield and center field for Resmondo at times, was the MVP. There's some debate over the home run champion. Josh Riley and Yates at the event tied for first with 25. It's now coming in that Yates may have had 26 home runs. So they are looking into that, unfortunately. Here's Resmondo. They were challenged by Juneau on the weekend. They had a 30-run deficit in the first game. They had a 24-run deficit in the championship. A 30-run deficit in the winners' final. 24-run deficit in the championship. They overcame. Juneau, who's really hasn't even played that many games this year, finished second. They're the only team that really pushed Resmondo. RoofX had some adversity. They lost to JBL by a run and then came back to the losers bracket, beat Sunny's Sunday morning and finished third. And Sunny's, of course, was the 16 seed because of the point standings. And because of that, they had to play RoofX on Friday night. It was a great game. Check it out on YouTube, condensed game. Sunny's Ended up losing. They had to come back through the losers bracket, 95-degree heat on Saturday. They made it to Sunday, so an impressive run to fourth, actually. Here's Bradley Jones. He was the MVP of the tournament with Joe Huff and Chris Clark, tournament directors, giving him the trophy here. Josh Riley and Yates tied in homers, supposedly. And then here was the play of the tournament. It was RoofX against JBL. Mike Williams, playing catcher for JBL, gets the ball. Brandon Yoder is running in the gold and black. He tagged 2 bases. He's coming home, and whether he was tagged or not, the video shows he wasn't. But there's a frame in there that I don't have on here that actually shows it blocks the tag. So did he get him on the shoulder? Did he not? It was almost an impossible call to make. You can't see it definitively on my video or the live stream. But the game went to extra innings, and RoofX actually ended up losing by a run, or by 8 runs in extra innings, actually. So here's our top teams, first through fourth place for all the tournaments. Resmondo wins their 4th tournament of the season, all on big fields, all on bigger than 300-foot fields. They take over the points. We got the women's points here. Monsta, La Familia leading Derby girls by a pretty good margin, 80 points, almost insurmountable. On the men's side, Resmondo leads RoofX now by 76 points. And Resmondo has a 176 to drop, whereas RoofX only has a 192. So that's going to hinder RoofX's attempt at coming back. I almost think RoofX would have to win out both Evansville and the conference championship to finish first. Quick look at the computer rankings. Resmondo takes over number 1 in the computer rankings, although they're only 6-5 against major teams. RoofX 11-3 against major teams, so that's kind of interesting. By division, you have Resmondo at the top of the major. Straight Play is now separated from JBL and Sports Reach in the AA computer rankings, and LSR still has that commanding lead in A, with Ely Real leading the B. Thunder, interestingly enough, the Conference B team, Thunder Bololi, they won the Canadian PIF tournament, as well as the Beast of the East. And come on out this Saturday to 6:30 p.m. Saturday night at Huntington Park in Columbus, Columbus, Ohio. The Cardell Jones charity softball game, I'll be covering that. Josh Kirsten's hitting in the home run derby before the game, and it's for a great cause, adolescent, adult cancer research. So come on out to Huntington Park, 6:30. What's that?
Is that Bradley Jones's cousin, Cardell?
Here's some video of Bradley Jones running center field while hitting his 20 homers. And I got a little backside slow-mo here, Bradley, of your swing. You're hitting it pretty much wherever you wanted, it seemed like.
You got a clip of the one off Mason Farmer?
These were all from Straight Play. And then playing the knuckleball in the outfield there. So that's my video clips that I've gotten so far of Bradley. But let's get into the show here. I gave the rundown. Bradley, we've probably gone over this before, but real quick, touch on your baseball career, how you got started in Slowpitch. And then I want to show the video of that Guinness Book of World Records where you tried to hit a baseball 570 feet. So go ahead and tell us about your baseball career, how you got into softball.
Played high school baseball back home. Was fortunate enough to play 3 years at the College of Charleston under Monty Lee before he left to go to Clemson. And then obviously was very fortunate enough to be able to be drafted and play 3 years in the Toronto Blue Jays minor league system. made about halfway through year 3 and just told them I was ready to come home, and I had gotten married, and I'm a homebody, so daily life of being a minor league baseball player just wasn't for me. It's a whole different world. It's better now. They made some adjustments as far as paying for, your housing and stuff like that. But when I was in the system, you had to pay rent on apartments and all kind of crazy stuff, pay clubbies, and it was a crazy world. Super thankful that I had the opportunity to do it. Met some amazing people, some Hall of Famers, some dudes that are in the big leagues now with the Blue Jays, and some different teams since they've been traded. As far as softball goes, man, my dad played from the time I was 4 or 5 years old. I've been around the game of softball forever. It's always kind of been, besides baseball, my first love as far as sports go. I've always loved it. I knew whenever the time come that my baseball career was over, this is what I was going to do. So as soon as I quit baseball in 2018, I called Jason Gilfillan, who played with my dad for years, and was like, listen, as soon as you can make something happen, let's get it going. So my first year in the conference was 2019 with Ball Ford, and I struggled big time. So my off season of 2019, I put in some work and was fortunate enough to get a lot better at softball, and kind of turned me into the player I am now. So.
Yeah, I remember you were with Ball Ford, and I remember players on that team telling me this guy's the next major player. Then you went to Sports Reach, I think, and for a half season before Dan Smith picked you up. And I remember them telling me this guy's the next major player. So the talent was obvious. I'm assuming you kind of had to learn the strike zone, right?
Well, truth be told, I'm still learning that. I'm not the most patient hitter. There's a lot of stuff I swing at that dudes in our dugout are like, what in the world are you doing? A lot of it, man, was just learning bat control. I could hit it hard when I first started. It's just a matter of, being able to hit holes and things like that. So I put in a lot of work, and a lot of that credit goes to my wife. She's the one that sucks it up and goes through me batting practice 2, 3, 4 times a week. Wow. She puts in just about as much work as I do. So a lot of credit to her.
Does she pitch? She pitches them?
She pitches me BP. She's behind a big old fast pitch screen that's a lot bigger than a normal L screen. So she still gets a little nervous when I tell her I'm going middle, but she sucks it up and gets it done. So
that's impressive. But yeah, that's good to have a BP partner in the house. Your story sounds similar to Scott Kirby, former major player for Helmer. That was an Easton hitter. He was kind of homesick. He was kind of a homebody, and I think he made it to AAA. But we'll get back to the Guinness Book of Records in a minute. Mooch, we haven't had you on since the perfect game. I think we had you on right before the season started to make your picks for the season. But you had that perfect game against Straight Play. Tell us about the start of the season with the RoofX group. Can you win the conference points? And finally, what did it take to have a perfect game in the conference pitching?
I think we still have a legitimate shot of being the number 1 seed going into the major, winning the regular season. Reason being, we've seen what we've done on 300-foot fields. Obviously, we have Resmondo's number. We're 5-0 against them. That's on the small fields. Actually, we beat them once in Arizona on a big field. But yeah, the team, I mean, everybody knows what it's all about. I mean, it's the no quit attitude, nonstop hustling, doing the right things. The JBL game, we definitely that just wasn't us. I mean, we had a bad game all the way around, defensive, untimely hitting. But yeah, I think Evansville, I would not be shocked if we do pull off both those events. I mean, you're going to play a lot of games and a lot of heat. 80% of our team is still under the age of 30, mostly mid-20s. So that definitely helps out. And then we'll see what happens at the conference championship on the big field. As far as the perfect game, I mean, there ain't much to say. I mean, the only credit I could give to myself is the windy conditions that I threw strikes. It was bad. So the whole objective was to throw strikes, and it was, I guess what, it was a 4-inning game, so there was 12 outs, like I said before. We made legitimately 6 or 7, like, really, really good plays, you know? So, I mean, the whole credit's to my defense in that game. And that's it. Like, some people said, like, man, I watched the clip and you guys didn't even celebrate or anything. I'm like, I mean, what are you going to do, you know? I mean, 1, we have class. 2, like I said, I mean, it's not like I was throwing 92-mile-an-hour sliders that were just dipping off. I mean, like I said, I threw strikes. You know, you as a pitcher, you know your conditions. So there was sun too, I believe, in the background. The wind was blowing in hard, kind of a little bit cross. So, you know, you have to throw. I was throwing floating pitches, like make them have to lift the ball. So, you know, again, credit to my defense. So.
Yeah, there weren't many home runs in the game. Like you said, there was a bunch of great defense. And your team, you said 4 innings, so they must have won by 20, which means your offense was supporting you. That was kind of a
Yeah, I think it
perfect
was
storm because
25-0.
I think it's a perfect storm because Cheap Suits was coming from the stadium where they just had I don't know if it was an extra inning game or something. So
yeah, they beat Juneau. They scored 10. They scored 10 in the bottom of the 7th to tie it. Then they gave up 10 in the top of the 8th, and then they came back and scored 11 and beat them. And then, unfortunately, came down and didn't get ahead. So
that's a wild, but you can catch that video on the USSSA live YouTube channel if you want to see the perfect game from the live stream. Jumping back to Bradley. Bradley, we have a video here. If Bernie can share my screen. I'm going to play the video and maybe you can explain what is going on here because this is I guess it was 2022.
Yeah.
Well, we got to play a commercial. YouTube commercial. Okay, here we go. I'm going to play. All right, I think it's playing. Hey, don't laugh when you say professional slow pitch there. All right, we'll jump forward to where you're hitting, I guess you're hitting for the longest
weird,
home
blowing
run
up,
in
blowing
Guinness
up middle
Book
and
of World
fast
Record
pitch.
history.
Yeah, I can't remember what the record was. I think when we originally took the flight out there, the record was supposedly like 580 something foot. But when we got out there, the world record lady from Guinness told us it was like, I think 574. But as you can see, man, like we're hitting uphill. So like we were screwed from the get go. Now these balls are still, this is probably the most fun I've had hitting a baseball. It was almost, I would almost say it was like hitting a golf ball with a baseball bat. I mean, it was amazing the way these balls just flew. Now I'll tell you this, after about 5, 6, 7 swings, you had to get on the oxygen tank. They had the little mini oxygen tanks out there, and they probably come out there with 20 cases of them, and every single one of them got used. I mean, we were out there all day long.
This is Colorado, right? Because of the elevation.
Victor, Colorado. Yep. I think we're at like 9,000 something feet of elevation. That was the other problem. This poor fellow here, the survey guy, he was running. I bet he walked 100 miles that day chasing balls and trying to get the exact pinpoint of where they landed.
So it looks like 550 feet maybe was your longest.
Yeah. I actually hit one, man, so me and Helmer were getting ready to leave. And all the dudes just sat down and told me to hit. I probably hit for an hour straight. And I actually hit one 573 feet. They didn't get it on video. I missed the record by 1 foot, but it was fun, man. The whole town, that town's only got a couple thousand people that live in it. That whole town was out there all day long watching us hit. Had the conditions been a little different, like more flat ground, somebody out there would have shattered that record, because I'm telling you, man, it was nuts the way those balls were flying. And Will from
or if you had a little,
I bet he threw 1,000 pitches that day. I He has
Yeah,
like
I
literally the
I bet you
definition
just
of a
needed a
rubber
little
arm.
bit of wind, maybe a
Yeah,
little
that was
wind,
the other
right?
thing. A lot of times the wind was blowing in our face. So I mean the conditions weren't the best. But I mean all in all it was a blast. I had a good time. So
Yeah, I see a hand over hand grip, so that's more of a softball grip that just
yeah,
helps you with the whip.
I used that same grip when I played baseball.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I've had the overlap grip since I can remember.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I thought that video was interesting. I came across that, I think, on Facebook just by chance
Yeah.
a couple days ago. So we're going to move on to segment 3 of the show, which is kind of a Q&A about, we're going to ask Bradley about the Smoky, the defense, and some other things. Mooch, get some pitching questions. So we'll go to Mooch. Pitching questions to you. The first one is, you have one of the lowest releases in the game. Maybe only John Dabrowski is lower. Do the umpires actually take that into consideration?
I think it's a double-edged sword question. I believe some do, some don't, because of the 3 feet from 3 feet from release. You know, there's times where guys will be like, "Man, that's flat," and the umpire's giving it to me, and I can see him telling them that, you know, he's basically scraping the ground. Where there's other times, no, I'm throwing the same pitch, and the umpire's like, "You got to bring it up," and I'm like, "Well, you know, between innings, I'll tell him, you see where I'm releasing that from, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's still got to come up." So, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I had a little outburst one time in Memphis this year, but that's uncharacteristic of me. But, you know, I do respect the umpire's, you know, decision. And, you know, sometimes I'll just not constantly, but I'll get in their ears between every half innings. And sometimes when you talk to them respectfully and stuff, then all of a sudden you might get that call then the next time where they see themselves that maybe they are missing it and they're watching my release point more. So.
Yeah, that leads into my next question. Have you ever hit your knuckles on the ground?
Yeah, but plenty of times.
Plenty of
times.
Is it better in the conference as a pitcher to backpedal after the pitch or set up and play defense? What would you say?
I mean, that's also a weird question. Of course, you should be set. You know, when you're turning 50, you like to get as many feet back as possible, especially when another guy on our show's at bat and you're on 300-foot fields and he needs to hit it down. You know, I'm trying to get sideways and get to second base by the time he swings. But yes, obviously, if you're caught in between and you're backing up and you're still pedaling and the guy swings, you're not going to be set. You know, your feet aren't, you know, both your feet aren't planted. But like I said, I'll be the first to admit, a lot of times my first thing is to try and get as back far as possible and, you know, see what happens. But it's also key, you know, being a smart pitcher and where you're going to pitch guys and how to pitch to your defense. And, you know, I'm a firm believer, you know, everybody always says, and, you know, I feel I have a very good knuckleball, especially when the wind's in anybody's face. It's going to move better, but I can control it in the wind. But I tell people all the time, they're like, I know I have to have a good knuckleball. I have to have a good knuckleball. I'm telling you, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years at the top level. It's about, and I'm sure Bradley will agree, and if he doesn't agree, I, you know, would respect if he told me, like, it's about changing the eye level for the batter. You know, you want to have you have to remember each batter. You know, when you're smart, you have to be able to do that. But it's all about the eye level or where the guy sees the pitch. As long as you change speeds and heights and stuff like that, trust me, it works. I mean, I still throw a lot of times. People say, "What the hell was that?" And I'm like, you know, I'll throw a screwball, the reverse cutter. And that depends on the wind sometimes too, or a curveball. But changing speeds and heights, I firmly believe, are the biggest assets as being a, you know, a top tier pitcher. And when I say that, I mean also to pitching into your defense. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I still go out there with a bag of balls, not really taking BP that much, but I still throw pitches. Like, you know, I always do it. You never not can learn some things. And when you talk about my low release point, I've done that for the past couple of years. but I also have a lot of different styles. But I basically stole that from Jonathan Dombrowski, Biscuit. Like, I watched it and I saw he was successful and how he could do that. And, you know, I took a little bit from a lot. Like, people always say, oh, Mucci, you know, you're one of the best pitchers ever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I still take things from other pitchers. Like, I do. And if you're a smart pitcher, that's what you should do. If you see it works for someone, you go out there and try it. If it works for you, you stick with it. So, you know, kudos to Biscuit.
Yeah, they always say Jeff Grouse is the best at hiding the ball. Grouse isn't in the conference this year, but last question. In 2008, my first tournament I ever covered for Softball Kingdom was in Maryland, and Mooch was on the mound. You'd have to tell me what team it was. I can't remember.
Laser Vision.
Laser Vision. You did a cartwheel pitch. Are we ever going to see the cartwheel pitch again? You cartwheeled and then pitched.
I don't know. If you do ever see it again, it's going to be against a lower level team, only for the reason of that's an illegal pitch. You're never set. You know what I mean? There's no pause in between it. So guys, well, maybe Bradley might try and smoke me for doing a somersault, but most guys are going to realize that's an illegal pitch because there was no pause in between. But, you know, I'll do the shuffle pitch, you know, and I did it to Donnie Walsh this weekend. Donnie's, you know, just Donnie. Donnie likes to swing at anything anyway, but that's an illegal pitch. Anybody that knows that, even if they think it's going to land for a strike, they're not going to swing at it because they know the umpire's not going to call it. But anytime I do something that's I know is 100% illegal and the umpire is going to call it, even if it lands for a strike unfairly delivered, you usually see that against lower level teams now because they're still uncertain. They're like, they're going to swing. They don't know if it's illegal or not. So,
yeah. All right, appreciate those answers.
if you want a cartwheel, Dale, I'll bust one out in Indiana for you. Okay.
And yeah, you got to make sure I have the video going.
Otherwise, if I don't get up,
otherwise it's all for naught.
And if I don't get up, it's your fault. Just like, remember you told me in Myrtle Beach all the fields were turfed and I bought brand new vans and it was dirt we had to play on. Remember that one?
I do remember.
Yep, I do.
I wonder how many other players got screwed by my comment about Myrtle Beach. But your behind the back pitch was going pretty good this weekend, at least in the games I was watching. But Bradley, Resmondo coming up. You guys have Team USA, Border Battle. You have the duel in Evansville. And then I believe you're going to the 16-inch Worlds and the USA Super. And I don't know if you're playing the double A as well. But what do you think about the upcoming schedule and your thoughts on Resmondo playing in the 16-inch Worlds in Chicago?
I'm looking forward to it. To be honest, the 16-inch, I'm not sure what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hit that ball, you know, in 4 games. We got a few that we'll take out and whack before we play a conference event. But as far as suiting up and playing an actual term with that ball, I truly don't know what to expect. I mean, I would like to think that we're going to go up there and compete and take care of business, but this is what these dudes play all the time. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question. I know I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. I think it'll be cool, something different. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
How far do you think have you ever hit one? What's the furthest?
Man, I don't know. I mean, there's times that a few of us have tied into one, and I'd like to think that we'd be able to hit it over a 300-foot park. But I mean, that's hitting it as good as you can hit it, right? Like,
yeah,
that's not like hitting a hardcore where you spin it and it still goes 350, 380. I mean, you gotta hit this thing. So I don't know. They say using the older aluminum heavy bats are better with this thing. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, we used to have
We
used to have a conference player, Mark Holstein, who is in the 16-inch Hall of Fame. He was one of the few guys that could consistently hit it 300 feet, is from what I heard. He was a big guy. So
you know, he's one of the best. You know, he's one of the best 16. You know, he's one of the best 16-inch hitters that just retired. Well, stop. I hate to say the word retired. Stopped playing in the conference last year. They used to, Mark Holstein and Chris Guerin. Chris Guerin was a great 16-inch hitter too, also from Precision.
Yeah.
They both told me, they said Stewie Lopez used to absolutely murder 16-inch ball. Like, not a lot of homers, but they're like, his on base percentage was astronomical.
Yeah, and you don't use a glove in that game, I don't believe. I think you got to bare hand everything. Which brings me to defense.
I think in this one I think we can use a glove. I'm almost positive.
Yeah,
I think that's
you
what
can.
Brett said.
It's optional, but they still say some of the great 16-inch players don't use a glove, I guess, because of the way, as big as the ball is. I guess it's easier for them to just smother it, bring it in or whatever. But that should be interesting. I can't wait to see the results of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Speaking of defense, I wanted to ask you, you played center field and left field at the Smoky. It seems like, to me, left field with the knuckleballs that hardcore has, seems like the harder position at the Smoky. Would you agree? And the field drops off 10 feet, it seems like, in left field down into the corner. Tell me about defense at the Smoky.
With that ball, I would 1,000,000% say left field's the hardest. When I think I started and left, Saturday night against Juneau, and some of the stuff that they were hitting out there, I think the first ball of the game, AC hit to left center, and I took off, just natural reaction, and then as I kept going, I'm like, and I might be able to make a play on this thing. And then it just, I don't know what it did. Some of the things these balls were doing was unbelievable. And
yeah,
I
you would agree, left field.
Messer was down the left field line, shooting the crap with me all night while I was out there. And I told him, I was like, man, this is the first time I've ever been in the outfield and truly a little worried about, like, truly getting buckled out here in left field, 315 foot away.
Yeah, no question about it. It looked hard, and so when people watch these condensed games and you see a left fielder butcher a ball, just know that that thing was probably moving all over the place.
Of course, I found myself sometimes being in center. I was giving Moose a hard time about it, and then I get over there and I look like a fool trying to catch him too. So,
yeah. My other question is adrenaline. You saw Saturday night, Juneau comes out of the gate, puts up 30 runs, I think, on 17 homers in the first inning. What are your thoughts as a player when you're down 30-0? You haven't even swung the bat yet. And then throughout the game, it looked like Juneau's adrenaline just dropped off. Like they didn't have another double-digit inning. Their focus or concentration was lower. Tell me, I mean, as a fan, that's what it looked like. What are your thoughts on adrenaline and being down 30?
I mean, being down 30 in that tournament, I don't think is the same as being down 30 on a tournament that you have a home run limit. I mean, people say it all year. That tournament, we're built for that tournament. I mean, so I think being down 30 is as much of a task it is. It's not. I don't want to say it's not hard because I mean you still got to show up, you got to hit, and you got to produce. But I don't think our confidence really goes down when you're down 30 in the first with the lineup that we have. There was a time in the game where, and if you do the condensed game, you'll see it where AC and Travis are playing chess and checkers with each other about getting in the box and who's going to throw the pitch and all this. And then AC ends up missing the ball and flies out to left. And Travis gets up to bat the next inning and asked AC how loud he was going to ooh that ball if he hit it. He was like, AC told Travis, he said, man, I would have loved to, but I didn't want to wake the bear. So I think a lot of what Juneau was doing was trying to put the runs up without trying to be too loud to wake us up, if that makes sense. But it's like I said, man, with the lineup that we have, I feel like we're never out of a game, especially in a tournament like that where it's just free willing every time you get up. So,
Yeah, in the tournament report, it's going to come out probably Thursday. I actually got to cut the grass and stuff this week. but what was I going to say? Juno put up that 30 spot, and then Resmondo, it was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you just had this methodical comeback in both the winners final and the championship. Just solid, but not totally overwhelming comeback, and you end up winning the game pretty easily at the end, which is impressive. Mooch, I was gonna ask you about the gamesmanship. Bradley mentioned Andrew Collins doesn't want to get in the box until Travis is on the mound. Travis doesn't want to get on the mound until Andrew's in the box. Andrew doesn't want to say he's ready until Travis looks like he's ready. Like the two of them, it can go on and on for like 5 minutes. What do you think about that? Is it unsportsmanlike conduct on one of them, both of them? Or what?
I don't know. I mean, I thought there was a new rule implemented last year that you had 5 seconds to get in the box. So I know they never stuck with it, but I really think they should have. If the umpire says, "All right, let's go," that's it. You get in the box. End of story.
Yeah.
Like when guys like Jeff Flood used to walk all the way to third base and tap his spike and all that stuff. Like whenever I play against him, the minute he got in the box, I'd step off the mound, call time, tie my shoe, whatever, just because like that's just way too much. That's ridiculous. But it's all like a mind game. Andrew's playing a mind game. Travis is playing it back. But at some point, I do believe the umpire's got to be like, all right, that's it, no more of this. Whether you got to call both coaches and say, look, this is it. We're not playing this anymore. If I say get in the box, you get in the box. And if the coach or manager has something to say back to the umpire, they really don't have anything to say because it's umpires trying to make the game move along. I mean, it's bad enough you got games an hour and 15 scheduled on the show field at some points, and you got a 75 to 61 score. You know what I mean? I mean, what was that game, Bradley? 3 hours?
Yeah. I think we started at around 11 and walked off the field at 1:30.
Yep. So, I mean, like I said, at some point, whether it's a Smoky, whether it's a regular event, anything, the umpire's got to step in and, nip that in the bud as fast as they can. So,
yeah, I think we need to get rid of that 3:00 loser bracket game on the show field as well. That would move everything up so that hopefully we finish at midnight at the Smoky. And we didn't have any rain, and we finished at 1:30. So that's an issue. We shouldn't have that loser bracket game in the middle of the afternoon.
Dale, think about that too. They finished up at 1:30, and they moved a game over to field 4. There was still another game scheduled there after the winners bracket final. Don't forget about that.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
Sonny's was supposed to play JBL after the winners bracket final on field 3, and Andy knew that field 4 was almost on time or just a little bit.
Sonny's finished before we did.
Exactly, and they were supposed to, and originally scheduled from the bracket, they were supposed to play after you on that field. Can you imagine that one?
Dude.
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyways, I asked for questions on Facebook. I don't see any, so I have one more each that I wrote down. Bradley, I remember when you first broke in. You can tell me if I'm wrong. A few games you'd be playing first base, and I would say, is Bradley hurt? And I think it was arm pain, elbow pain, maybe. How did you? But since then, we haven't seen that.
Sports Reach. Yeah, the year I was with Sports Reach, I did something to my shoulder. I don't know what I did. And after about a month or two, it kind of went away. The most nagging thing that I probably deal with is my hamstring. I pulled it back when I was in college, so every now and then it'll flare back up. Like in Chicago, when I dove for that ball in center, it just kind of grabbed, and I had a light strain. I mean, other than my hamstring, I usually stay pretty healthy. Knock on wood. I try to take the best care of my body as I can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought it was elbow pain, so I was gonna ask how you got over that because you've been playing outfield ever since. But
Yeah.
it was shoulder pain that went away, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Mooch, last question for you.
Yeah.
Why can't you get Dombrowski out? He's one of the worst hitters.
Me personally or our team?
You.
I didn't
forget
pitch
that
against him this
question.
weekend.
No, I had that question written down after Memphis, where you guys played him like 3 times. But forget
Yep.
that. That was just a joke. But he did hit against you pretty good. My last question
he
for you
does.
is, what will it take for RoofX to take the next step on the baseball fields? 5-0 against Resmondo on the year, 1-0 on baseball fields, 4-0 on 300-foot fields. What will it take for you guys to make that final step this year?
I think mentally we have to come to the realization, which is the truth, and everybody knows it. We're not built like Resmondo. Okay. I mean, if you looked at the home run numbers at even the Smoky, I think they had 7 guys with 17 or more home runs, and it was like 25, 22, 20, 19, 19, 18, 17, and then there was like a 16, a 15, and a 12, where I think we went, our highest was 18, then there was like a 16, and then the next was like a 12 and an 11. I think if we play our game like we did when we beat them in Arizona, we beat them pretty good on the big field. 15 run them, and I still think they out-homered us. I think they out-homered us maybe like 10-9 or something like that. If we play our game, which is gaps, go. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying, if we gap them to death and maybe tire out, guys like Bradley and, the Heat and Matusik and whoever's in right, whether it's Buddy or whoever else, that also could come into play when they come up to bat, the more they're running around and stuff. But to outpower them is not the way to beat them at the Major World Series, in my mind. I get it where it doesn't matter. Oh, if a ball goes 331, it's a homer compared to Bradley hitting them 455. Yes, but if we stay with our game plan and play our game, I think that's the best shot we have of beating them at the Major World Series.
Yeah, I think we need you to get to them, right? That was the problem at the Smoky. You got tripped up. Bradley, you're known as one of highest bat speed probably in the conference, or one of the highest. Is it more fun to just swing away at the Smoky, or more challenging on a smaller field with home run limits?
Man, I love the
We might have lost. Did we lose them?
I don't see them.
I think we lost them. I think they're basically up. It says admit one. We'll admit them. We'll give them a chance. We'll wrap up the show after this question. There it is. You might be muted. See if you're muted.
I think I muted it. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, I can. We got you. You're good.
Back to your question, I like the challenge of playing on the 300s. I like being able to base hit and stuff, but I do enjoy the Smoky and the Major World Series where you get to free up and hit some long balls. I think there's pros and cons to both. I like the challenge of trying to hit it through holes and using homers.
Pitchers.
Man, I don't hit that many pitchers.
Mason Farmer moved. I think he moved, right?
Truth be told, man,
or did he not move?
There's been times where I've not necessarily tried to hit the guy, but go back through there. They may have sent a, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not the best at sending balls back through the middle. Now, I mean, when I get it, I hit it pretty good, but as far as being consistent, like a Connie or a Josh Riley, even Marshburn's really good at going back through the middle. I'm just not as good at being as consistent. So a lot of times I don't try to do it. Now, obviously there's times where I'm not saying it's needed, but I mean, Mooch has been around it long enough. There's times where middle wars are going to happen, and it's just part of it. Now, I will say the The one this weekend, I was not trying to blister Mason. I was going center and it just fell short, and he was on the bad end of it. So I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah, I was wondering if a middle war could break out in the Smoky, which is unlimited, but it didn't really. It was kind of contained, but we'll just say we'll leave it there. Final thoughts from our panelists. I want to thank you guys for coming in. Final thoughts on the rest of the season and anything else you want to plug there, Mooch.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a little setback for us at the Smoky, still a third place finish, but we know what we have to do. We have one goal in mind. That's to win the Major World Series. Unfortunately, everyone's been pretty healthy except Jeremy Fry. Sprained his thumb this weekend. He should be okay by Evansville, and that's pretty much it. Great sponsor group we have: Mark Patterson, Brandon Cashwell, Mike Yoder, Pure Sports. And one last plug: if anybody's not doing anything next weekend and you want to check out something pretty cool, whether you're in Ohio or just want to watch, it's the Amish Paul Laney tournament in Winesburg. I think it's called Winesburg or Millersburg, Ohio. I'll actually, if anybody wants to go on my Facebook page next week on Friday, I'll put the actual page up where I'm sure there'll be some live feeds going on, and it's just a great atmosphere. About 5,000 people watching. 50-50 last year, Bradley, was $68,000.
yeah, don't.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the Laneys next week, not this weekend, the following weekend.
Yep.
And that same weekend is the Maryland Major. That's where I'll be. And Bradley, I think you're with Team USA at the border battle that weekend. So what do you got the rest of the year? What do you think about the rest of the season? Tell me about the Alabama. Or have you ever been to the complex in Alabama? Anybody?
I have not. I have not, but I did look it up. And it looks like there's about 10 or 12 fields there and 8 are baseball fields. So dirt infields.
So big fields. I heard it's a beautiful complex. But Bradley, the rest of the season, your thoughts, and then anything you want to plug.
Yeah, looking forward to the back half of the season. I think after the scuffles on the 300s, I think we kind of put ourselves in a good position to finish out strong and hopefully lock up the first place for the Major World Series. Obviously, that's the main goal, is to win the World Series. So just keep trekking forward, man. We got a good group of dudes that truly care for each other. I think RoofX has the same thing, right? Like, they've all bought in to be in there with each other and having each other's back. So just a lot of credit to our dudes throughout the year, and most of all, thanks to all our sponsors and all that make all this work, and Mama Cheryl and all our families that let us travel the country and play this crazy game. So many thanks to all those people.
Yeah, and one follow-up question, and I want your honest opinion. You can tell me that we don't want it, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. If I come to the 16-inch Worlds, are you going to be like, damn it, DW, you won't go away? Or should I cover it? Do you think it would be good for the game?
No, come on. I think it'll be fun. It won't bother me at all.
All right. I don't want to show up and they're like, we can't get away from this guy.
We already had this discussion. If you didn't have Maryland on your schedule, or if Maryland wasn't on the schedule, you probably would have came to the Laney and gave that, it's so everybody could see that tournament.
Yeah, is border battle in Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hey, I want to thank Bernie in the background, Kelly for putting us on Facebook, all the fans for kind of pushing me to do the hit and sit show, because it is a little bit of work for me and I'm already really busy. But I know the fan, when I ask a fan, they say, I like what you do. I say, what do you like the most? The condensed games, the highlights, or the reports? And they, like 5 of them this past weekend, said the hit and sit show is their favorite thing. So this is for you guys for pushing me. And I appreciate you guys coming in. And we'll see you soon.
Bradley, I'll see you, buddy. Good luck.
See you, man.
Yep. Thanks.